It's a very good evening to you and a warm welcome to this week's edition of Breeding to Win. We're on the back of Piedmont Empress Palace Charity Mile and the inaugural CTS Johannesburg Ready to Run sale. And as you heard from Grant Knowles last week, both events were a huge success. Of course, Johannesburg, we're building up towards the Sansui Summer Cup, and in between that, on the 15th of November, we've got the Johannesburg International, proudly brought to you by Racing It's a Rush. Down in Cape Town, well, their summer season is also getting into full swing, and the highlight in November, no doubt, will be, of course, the Lanzarek Ready to Run Stakes, which takes place on the 22nd of November out at Kenilworth. But more about that later on in the show. Right now, it's my pleasure to welcome into the studio our guest this evening, Heinrich Rix, Stonehill stud. And Heinrich, a warm welcome to you. I think everybody, when they see your colours, will know it's those bright lime green silks with the black diamond. You can't miss them in a race, but great to have you with us on Breeding to Win.
Thank you very much, Jules.
Okay, well, let's just chat about, because you're a new owner in the game, you're a new breeder. How did you get involved in racing?
I used to be involved in breeding other horses, other breeds of horses, and we dissolved a partnership in that business that we had, or in that stud. And for 2 years I was sulking. And one Sunday afternoon I went to the Empress Palace National Yearling Sale. And I ended up with a few horses there, and that's how I got involved.
Unbelievable. And since then, I mean, that was only a couple of years ago.
That was in April 2011.
Yeah, so it's been almost 3 years that you've now involved in racing. You've got a lot of horses around. You know, we see your silks often, but it's also the breeding side, and we'll get into that a little bit later on in the show. But is this your main business, breeding horses, racing them, or you got a bit of is this just a sideline?
You know, it all starts out as a hobby, but inevitably when you get that involved, it can't just be a hobby. So at the outset, I had a plan to breed horses, and so that's why it's Stonehill Stud. Even though I hadn't bred any of the horses running currently myself, the long-term strategy has always been to breed. And so I have a tendency to buy nice fillies if I can. And
it's always a good thing, buying nice fillies.
Well, if you send your colts to Lucky, they'll end up being gelded in any event. So we have a nice joke about that. But yes, so the tendency has been to buy fillies that could have some paddock value and that I could possibly breed with, depending on how they perform on the track.
Okay, so take us back to the sales, your very first one, back in 2011. How many horses did you land up with?
I don't even answer my wife that question. No, just a joke. I bought 8 horses that afternoon. And I was very lucky with that. And I must acknowledge that I actually didn't know what to do with them after the sale until I ran into Guy Murdoch, who played a big role in helping me just establish myself in that first 6 months.
Oh, fantastic. And since then, it's obviously grown. And you know what I've noticed with you and your horses? You're very passionate and you enjoy the racing side of it.
Yes, I think, you know, the racing it's exhilarating, and it's gets your adrenaline going, and it's very exciting. And obviously my daughters have got an interest in that too. So it does make it very exciting and very real. And it's, you kind of get into it very quickly, because I bought my first horses in 2011 and which were yearlings, and then in 2012 obviously they started racing. So roughly a year and I was racing. But on the breeding side, it's really challenging, because you've got to study the pedigrees. I try and get around to all the farms where the stallions are that I'd like to use. So, and I really go to some length to see whether the stallions that I want to use from a pedigree perspective actually match the conformation of the mares that I have, and address the shortcomings that some of my mares or fillies might have.
Now, a lot of stud farms will use and get professional advice about that. Are you looking to that, or are you going to just try it out on your own for a while?
I have been getting some advice, but in the end, you need to make your own decisions.
Okay.
Because inevitably, if I just rely on your advice, and my horses I don't breed what I'm hoping to breed, then you'll always be to blame. So I think you've got to be accountable for what you want to do. And I don't think you can get very far without good advice. So Johan has given me some advice.
Johan Malherbe.
Johan Malherbe, even though he does write the odd email that says a logic I can't understand. But yeah, I think that's also the fun of it, being able to make your own decisions in terms of breeding, you know, the type of horse that you hope to breed.
Okay, now let's chat about those horses, because you started off, as you said, with 8, and it has grown over the years, because I know when I open the computer form, I often see Stony Hill Stud with 2, sometimes 3 horses in a race, which is fantastic, because it's the new blood that's starting to come through, and you know, it's grown. And for you, I think it's the enjoyment that you get out of it, and the family aspect, the social aspect as well.
Yes, definitely. Yeah, most of my horses are actually with Lucky, and they're up here, so I get to go to watch them on Saturday mornings, or even Sundays if I can't get around. And I try to get to the races, but obviously with the business schedule, it's quite difficult to get there all the time. Lately, I haven't even been there to lead in some of the winners, so it's not always easy. And then I have a few horses down in Cape Town with Brett Crawford, and one with Glenn Cotson. Yeah.
So it's growing.
It is growing, but I think there's also a limit to what I can handle. And with the breeding side growing rather rapidly, I am kind of limiting the number of horses that I can have or sustain on the track.
Yeah, I think that's also a big thing, is how much you actually can sustain, because the breeding side does become expensive at the end of the day. It's fun and it's fantastic to be part of, but when you realize that you've got the mare, then you've got the foal, then those foals become yearlings, then you've got, and it just kind of...
And you have to pay for the services.
And then it's the services. So, but it is rewarding when you actually see their progeny out on the track.
Well, I had my first filly on the Cape Ready to Run sale go through the ring, and inevitably brought her back.
Couldn't let her go.
Couldn't let her go. Actually, the mare I bought from one of Lucky's owners at the Vol, then sent her to Bankable. I think she was the last horse mare ever to be covered by Bankable. And then, obviously, the foal's now back with Lucky. So it's done the full circle type.
But you know what, that's what's exciting. And then, of course, you're even more attached to them because now you've bred them as well, obviously.
Yes, and it's a grey, so my daughter loves it.
I see that Carla is very involved in the racing side of it. She's obviously very passionate about it. You've even named one of the fillies after her, Carla the Rebel.
That's Johan Janssen van Vuren that's done that.
So I think it is great to have the family come with you to the racing and being so passionate with you.
It is fantastic. Carla's actually got a big interest in the pedigrees as well. So she studies her own pedigrees. At the sales, she'll walk her own walk and pull out horses, which I really enjoy, and we often differ on which horses we should be going for. But it's nice to have her input, and she's got a keen eye for finding a nice horse.
I mean, she's young to be doing that and to be so involved in horse racing, and that's fantastic. I think it's great, it's awesome. That's what we need in racing.
Yes, it's nice to have her involved. She does encourage me and actually lift me up when you go through a bad patch. And yes, it's fantastic to share it with someone so close to you.
Now, just tell us about how the mares you've got at stud. How many have you got at the moment? Okay, am I asking too many of those personal questions?
No, it's okay. The majority of my mares, roughly 12 of them, are down at Hemel and Orde stud.
Okay.
And the main reason for that is because so many of the stallions that I'd like to access are down in the Western Cape. And it's very difficult I've got a property in Pretoria, to ship those mares down there, have them covered, wait, bring them back up here, have them foal down, take them back down there again with the foals, have them covered, wait and see if they've taken, then ship them back up here. So Dave's been really good to me, and he's been really successful in having my mares conceive just about first time every time. And like I said, most of the stallions are down there. And then I have a few mares in partnership, either with Jessica Slack from Wilgebos, or now Maritzfontein, or with Gary Player. So only a few.
So you've spread it out a little bit.
A little bit. So, but the majority of them are down in Hermanus on the Hemel and Orde stud.
I mean, quite a big step for you, because you knew nothing about racing. First sales, you bought 8 horses, kind of just got straight into the game. It must have been like a little bit of a shock for you, for the system, when this all started happening.
Yes, but I did have a little bit of background on racing. I obviously grew up in the countryside.
Okay.
And back then we were listening to racing on the radio. So I can remember horses like Peter Beware, Home Guard, Sea Cottage, Politician, Jamaica Music winning without a jockey. Well, not actually winning, but crossing the line first in the July without a jockey. So I had been exposed a little bit to racing. My parents had bought a farm in Standerton, which had belonged to people who, it was actually a racehorse farm, and we were dairy farmers. So I had a little taste of, so when I went to the first sale, I actually only knew horses like Victory Moon and Jalad, and so I knew, that the fillies I'd be buying would come from, stallions that I'd known quite well.
And you picked them yourself?
Well, the first horses I actually picked predominantly in the ring, so I didn't study them too much. But I do think some of those sales protect you as a first-time buyer, because the quality of the horses on the sale are of, they're high-quality horses. And I really love the National Yearling Sale for the simple fact that it's quite a big draft. And if you are looking to find a good horse, you don't have to buy, the sales topper. It's quite easy to find the sales topper in any event. But I think the challenge is finding, immature horses that you can see will mature, that have good conformation, that have fairly good breeding. And that's the challenge, really, And I've been fairly successful at that.
I think you have, because how many winners have you had to date in 3 years?
Roughly 37 winners and about 42nd places.
Sure. So that's good going, because, they really only started racing 2 years ago.
In April 2012, yes.
Unbelievable. So, of course, the big one now is the one that you want to win is obviously a Grade 1.
Yes, of
no
course.
No doubt.
Yeah. I think that's, although I've had some limited success with racing, all these Wednesday meetings and Tuesday meetings are fantastic, and any win I'm really grateful for. But you want to win listed races and group races, so the strategy is that. So hopefully we'll get there sometime.
Now, are you only involved in fillies at the moment racing? Are you involved in colts, or do you tend to now, seeing as you want to balance, or have you worked out your scheme?
No, I'll buy a good colt if I find one.
Okay.
The nice thing just about a filly is that if she's really got paddock value, then whether she's racing well or not, you most probably could still breed with her. A very good example of that is that filly that I bought off Wilgebos called Our Lucy. She's out of a mare called Bold Eleanor by Trippy. And I must say, as a specimen, when you just look at her, she's ordinary. She doesn't just jump at you. She's very plain, very ordinary, and doesn't have the best or the greatest legs. But from a paddock value perspective, she's a great filly to buy. But amazingly, she's run well, so you do find those. And for me, it's easier to take a chance on a filly than on a colt.
Yeah.
But I do have colts that, like I said, that inevitably become geldings. So,
well, who knows? You might land up with a stallion one day, Heinrich. Just going forward, are you going to be breeding to sell or breeding to race, or a bit of both?
I think the whole thing about breeding, and I've bred sheep and other things as well. My philosophy is just, I shouldn't be breeding horses that I'm not willing to race myself. So I think that's the first thing. The second thing is, if I don't get my price on the sale, I should be willing to race that horse. But you should, just my view, you should be willing to sell your best horses, because they are actually your advertisement and, promoting your stud out there. So, and you should be happy for somebody to buy a very good horse from you, and you should be happy for somebody to do very, very well with that horse. I don't think you should ever regret that. So, that's just basically my philosophy, and say I should be able to sell the best horses I can breed on the sale and make them available to other people, because that's why I'm breeding.
Well, I think you got a great philosophy. Hopefully it works for you. It's great to have you in the game.
Thank you very much.
Great to have you on Breeding to Win. We wish you all the best, and it's always a pleasure chatting to you at the races and seeing those green and black silks pass the winners post first.
Thank you very much, Julie.
Heinrich, we wish you all the best. Thank you once again for joining us on Breeding to Win. We'll be back after a short break.
Warhorse. Hailed by the Sunday Times as the theatrical experience of the decade. Warhorse. Experience it live. Warhorse.
Well, the Artscape Theatre will be holding a charity performance on Thursday, the 11th of December, where you can purchase your ticket at a discounted price of only R300. Proceeds going to the National Horse Trust. For more information and bookings to see Warhorse, please call Joanne Knowles on 083 399 6353. Well, you also, some lucky viewers, stand a chance of winning a set of double tickets to this performance, courtesy of CTS. Tell us who the beneficiary of the charity performance is on Thursday, the 11th of December, and you got a chance of winning double tickets to the performance Warhorse. You can email your answers to grant@claverflay.co.za. With the Cape summer season starting to heat up, we chat to Clyde Basil, Marketing and Sales Executive of Phumelela, to tell us more what we can expect throughout the season.
The Summer of Champions is really going to be very good in the Western Cape this year. Exciting stuff going down, and we begin officially. The first grade one is naturally the Aventir Estate Fillies Guineas. That's the first weekend of December. Of course, at the end of mid-end November, not forgetting the Lanzarek Ready to Run presented by CTS, and that in itself is a very exciting race meeting that will take place, with an opportunity for a best dressed couple to get out and go and see London and Epsom Downs and the Investec Derby, of course. So that is going to be something special in itself. With the Aventir Fillies Guineas, it's really special this year because now we've opened up the opportunity for all fillies to participate in that. It's a joint first leg to the Wilgeborstrift Triple Tiara. So there's opportunity there too, but lots for people to do on the day, and we naturally would encourage you to attend the officially first grade one of the season. Middle of December, we have the Vasco Premier Trophy. The Premier's Trophy in itself attracts a really strong field, and the guys do a super job of filling up the peninsula. The peninsula is a 300-400 seater, and the contribution is ultimately charity on the day, but it is about Bryn Russell exposing his brand and the company that they're involved in and the good work that they do, and we appreciate what they put back into the game. Of course, the Cape Guineas, not forgetting about that, that's the Cape Colts Guineas, sponsored by Grand Parade Investments. Last year was a success, and whilst engaging with the powers that be, Hassan Adams and his team, it's going to be even more super special this year. It's also the first leg of the Triple Crown. That is a joint first leg of the Triple Crown. You'll remember the days when Horse Chestnut won back in the late 90s. There's an opportunity for a horse now to win the first leg of the Triple Crown there, and then come try and the Classic in the second leg once that series begins in Johannesburg. Thank you so much, of course, to Lady Laidlaw. She's put some money behind, and she will be sponsoring also come on the the 28th of December, for which we really appreciate her participation as well. So the season continues with a super event on that particular day, and that will be followed by the Laurmerong Queen's Plate, which has become a special event in itself. The max out in terms of number of tickets available within a demarcated area that belongs to Laurmerong, I think is around 5,000 or 6,000 people, and it's special stuff. So if you haven't got a ticket, I strongly recommend you do so now. Otherwise, we've got our building, of course, which fills up almost automatically on the day, and ground floor participation is free. So we encourage you to come and watch the Queen's Plate runners. Again, high quality stuff. That will be followed by a new sponsor throughout the Cape Summer of Champions, and we're very grateful to Monty Govender. They've got Freightmore, the business Freightmore that they operate, and they're going to be sponsoring a day the middle of January as well. That contribution again is greatly appreciated, and Monty's an innovative kind of guy, and I'm pretty sure that he's going to make it really special for our patrons that come racing on that afternoon. The Betting World Cape Flying Championships happened obviously just the weekend before the big one, the JMB Met. That's the greatest Grade 1 sprint, so come out and watch that as well. It's in conjunction with another one of CTS's ready to run races, so you'll enjoy the afternoon, but it's all in hype and all in build-up of the Super JMB Met, and there's a lot happening the JMB Met this year. If I may just touch on one point, if you come to the JMB Met, you have an opportunity, once you've got your compu ticket in your hand, to win a 500,000 Rand diamond. Thank you very much to E Diamond, which belongs to Anthony Peter and his contribution, but he has kindly donated a 500,000 Rand, 500,000 Rand, whichever sounds better, diamond for somebody to go home with, which we're planning on linking to the JMB Met one way or the other in terms of the outcome of the winner of the JMB Met, but that is very exciting. JMB Met is the greatest horse race when it comes to the Summer of Champions, in that it attracts 40,000 people, and it's about Cape Town stepping out and enjoying the afternoon. And then something really unique after that is the Prawn Festival Day, Cape Town Prawn Festival in association with Electron and their sponsorship, and we look something to really special on Prawn Festival Day. And it really does, ultimately, when you weigh up all of what's going on throughout the Summer of the Champions, it's got to be right up there with one of the best seasons in the world. So get your Summer of Champions ticket, come out to Kenilworth Racecourse, enjoy the beautiful weather in the Cape, and we really hope to manage your expectations and that you go home satisfied and will want to come again. I look forward to seeing you at the Summer of Champions.
We believe in excellence. We believe that if you're going to do something, you do it to your best ability. We aim to make Balmoral #1 in the Southern Hemisphere, not just South Africa.
Well, the Tattersall's Mares and Weanling sales takes place yearly in December. This year it's from the 1st to the 4th of December, and Grant Knowles managed to catch up with David Allen to tell us more.
It's fresh in the heart of sales season up in Johannesburg, and we're here at Emperor's Palace. We always try to catch up with David Allen. He is a platinum sponsor of the Breeding to Win show, and when he does come to town, we try and make the most of it and get a bit of insight from you. David, once again, welcome back to South Africa.
Thank you very much. It's the 8th trip this year, which actually isn't a record, but anyway, very pleased to be here as ever.
David, some 10 years back, the first tour party that was arranged to go out to Tattersalls was quite instrumental in obviously getting a few mares to South Africa, but I think South Africa left a bit of a mark at Tattersalls as well.
Yes, if you're talking about the partying in the evening, you're dead right. But we did have our serious times as well, and we all did a lot of work. You were, and Anton Proctor were instrumental in putting it together at this end, and we were doing our bit at the other end. That was 10 and 9 years ago, which is really quite a time. And it's time we did it again, I think, because of course people can't go rushing around overseas buying mares every 5 minutes, but now is a time where we're seeing a development, I think, of appreciation of pedigrees, both the good domestic pedigrees here and those overseas, and it would be nice to bring in some fresh blood.
There's obviously a lot of suggestions that imported mares bring big results at Premier Sales, and they also score decent successes on the racetrack.
Yes, it's certainly absolutely correct at the top end. There is no doubt about that at all. I think what we should be looking at, though, also is the more workmanlike middle area, where we've got extremely good production here in South Africa. And 6, 7, 8 years ago, I would experience people looking at pedigrees at yearling sales, which were overseas at a sort of ordinary level, and saying, well, what's that? But now that's not the case. People understand, people are very familiar with pedigrees around the world, not just in the northern, but also in the other southern hemispheres. And so we've got an across-the-board opportunity here, top end, sure, but also middle end. I think it's all a matter of having something new, something fresh. It's going to be brought up here in South Africa. As I've said, the production standards are very high. So it's just having something extra and something new. And of course, they stand out when they happen because they're different.
Alan, Bloodlines offers a complete service and this complete package in terms of going out, and you're pretty much renowned for doing a lot of groundwork and checking out most of the mares on offer.
Yes, we will do all the catalogue work to start with, and our clients here obviously do the same thing, and we just exchange ideas. In other words, they like the idea of this, and this, and I say, yep, fine, and then throw in a few extra ideas. But it's the actual inspections that really make the difference. And sometimes, of course, the client is with us or with me, but very often not. And people have been very kind, one or two of them, and have said, look, I've been there and done it with you once, you've got my eyes now, I don't need to make the trek again. And of course that means that actually I turn down and reject an awful lot more than I probably would if they were with me and saying, oh well, maybe we could go with that.
Dave, you managed to do a couple of deals with Tattersalls, and they are on board, and they are inviting South Africans to participate in the sale, and they are willing to look after them.
Yes, certainly. I mean, first of all, on the flight situation, if the buyer buys, and that means buys anything at minimum bid level, there isn't some expensive threshold, then there's, I think it's £650, £700 in cash is provided there and then. And so that's always a help. As far as accommodation goes, it's more a question now of making sure we get the right place, at the right sort of budget, and that Tattersalls, which I think they will do, will chip in.
There's actually quite a lot behind the scenes, whether they buy a barren mare or whether they go the route of buying a mare that's in full Northern Hemisphere time.
It has to be talked through, and because I'm ridiculously enthusiastic about all of this, I don't mind talking it through time and time again. The more elaborate thing to do, and costly in terms of keep, is to buy a mare in foal northern time, to take that foal not long after the purchase, and then to keep the mare in the UK or Ireland, and cover the mare southern time, use the foal to defray the expenditure of keeping all that going, and maybe more, maybe helping with the price of the mare, depends. If you get a crooked filly, you aren't going to get too much, but if you get a nice strong colt foal, you'll always get good money. It's a very, very honest, workmanlike market, the foal market. So that does generate some revenue, and then almost a year after purchase, the mare will go south, having been covered southern hemisphere time. One or two people leave mares up there all the time, breeding southern time, but that's in its infancy.
Dave, obviously you've been involved in this for some time now, but you've got some very good contacts with allow breeders to access a farm at a decent discounted rate for South Africans and also Southern Hemisphere stallions.
Yes, on the stallion side, of course it has to be stallions that are not shuttling to Australia, but that is not a negative situation at all, because Juddmonte, for example, whether it's Frankel and Oasis Dream and all those guys, or whether it's cracking new horses at a fraction of the fees, like Bated Breath, they're there all the time. They will not shuttle. Darley always has one or two. There are always reasonably interesting horses to use. and to produce something which in the sales here would be a little bit exotic.
Let's go one step further now. The guys purchase the mares. They rely on you to get the Southern Hemisphere cover or to actually board the mare and watch the foaling take place. Do you manage that whole process?
Yes, all the way through. And I think it's, if I can say, it's a characteristic of what we do. There are outfits that act as purchasing agents, and they do that and they hand over and that's it. It's gone. Almost everything that we buy of any sort, we stay with it somehow or other, either as the hands-on manager on behalf of a client, very often new to the industry one way or another, or people who are overseas who need their interests looked after while the mare is not with them. So yes, we do all of that. And you talked about keep rates and things like that. I mean, obviously it's sterling keep, so it has to be factored in, which is where the foal helps, you know, pay for that kind of thing, admittedly in arrears. But we work with very solid, good, welcoming and friendly farms, but they're not ones charging the crazy prices. And then we get a deal from their deal anyway and pass that on. But having said that, we're dwelling particularly on that, which, as I said a few minutes ago, was the elaborate, the straightforward thing is to buy barren mares, which can often be a real bargain, or fillies off the track who are starting, and they can go more or less straight to South Africa. We don't have all that hassle. And when they come to South Africa, and this is a key point, they will have 2, 3, 4 months to acclimatise before the breeding season starts here.
Is a breeder who has maybe 500,000 Rand available to purchase to get involved in a project like this, would the 500,000 Rand be enough to actually have a significant impact?
Absolutely, no doubt. The spend for most of our South Africa purchasing, which including the jamboree that you referred to earlier on, has been something like, I think it's just under 70 fillies and mares coming in here from that particular source, from Tattersalls. And the average spend 3-4 years ago would be somewhere in the 20 to 40,000 range, sterling I'm talking about. And now it has to be less because the rand is weak. But I would say that 15,000 pounds, 300 odd thousand, is a very good figure to be going to war with. Maybe kicking it up towards 500, we will get something nice.
And lastly, David, if somebody was really interested and wanted to get hold of you, we're going to be putting up the details, as you mentioned as well. But how do they go about getting in touch with you?
My local cell, I am here 40-odd% of the year anyway, but when that rings and I'm in the UK, my PA roars with laughter because my accent changes and I use different expressions. So that's on all the time. And obviously email, and then I get on. The key thing is to have a phone conversation, or next week, I'm in the Cape all the time. Have car will travel to farm. I'll be on several different farms anyway.
Well, thanks very much to David Allen, and certainly if you are willing and you are interested in getting involved in the Tats Mare sale, David Allen, as he said, will be available for contact. He's in South Africa for a week or so, and you are going to be able to make contact with him. Certainly I can recommend the trip. Tattersalls are tremendous hosts, and it's wonderful to see all those international pedigrees. But right now, back to Julie in the studio.
New Turf Carriers is a family-run business owned by Mark and Dorrie Sham and their 3 sons, Michael, Matthew and Marcus. New Turf Carriers has been in long-distance transport since 1995 and pride themselves in excellent service, punctuality and loyalty to their clients. Every single stud farm and every single sale to every single racecourse, New Turf Carriers pride themselves in delivering your horse safely. The welfare of your horse is paramount, and it is to this end that we have our own midway stop between Johannesburg and Cape Town. This is situated at Colesberg, where we have a stabling facility for 60 horses, so that the horses on long trips can get off and have a rest during their journey. The bottom line is, New Turf Carriers take your horse from door to door with pride, passion and punctuality.
In the Lancerak ready-to-run stakes presented by CTS, Redway gets given his head and he comes forward and takes up the running. Captain America's on the chase. Back along the inside, Accelero. Riders towards the inside. Redway's got a race on his hands. Has Captain America crawled alongside of him. Captain America, Redway. Captain America, Redway. It's Captain way on the line.
Pomodoro bounded away from them.
And very well done to Sean and to Chris. I think they've got a bit of a horse in their hands.
Peregrine on the far inside, but Pomodoro. And Pomodoro stays on the better one well today.
He is really a nice horse to ride.
Pomodoro in the middle's picked it up in the closing stages, and Pomodoro has raced away and has won it well.
He just stamped himself as a top 3-year-old in the country.
Smanji and Pomodoro, here comes the line, very close, maybe Smanji in a photo.
And I'm excited for Pomodoro to get to stud, and I'm excited for him to start producing. It's just a whole new adventure and a whole new start, and believe you me, when Chris and I see them in the ring, we will put our head down.
Gavel House is the leading website for trading horses online. Selling your racehorse, mare or even a share in a yearling is so easy on Gavel House. You can browse our sires directory to match the best mating for your mare with text description, videos and up-to-date sires reports. Gavelhouse.com is the best way to sell your horse. We reach places others can't, where buyers and sellers deal direct and pay no commission. Go to gavelhouse.com.
Well, thanks to Gavel House for their sponsorship, and on offer this evening is a horse in training, Pilgoven Star. He's a 2009 gelding by Silvano out of Yangtze. Pilgoven Star is a very genuine, consistent son of Silvano. He's a winner from his last start over 2,000 meters and placed 7 times. He's also a half-brother to stakes performer Muvango, dam of group-placed Love Vivian. Contact Michael Roberts if you want to get involved in this 2009 gelding. The other is a breeding stock, Dash of Dynamite, by What a Prospect out of Jem Says Chow. She's a 2004 mare going for 20,000 Rand. She's a triple winner and stakes performer in foal to Argonaut. Now, Dash of Dynamite comes from a family peppered with black type winners. She's a full sister to 5 times winner Hail the Hearty, and her dam, Jem Says Chow, won 3 races, was stakes placed and had 7 foals to race, 5 of which have been winners. Dash of Dynamite is due to fall down this month. If you are interested, contact Murray Crocker.
Second or no. So number 14, All Is Secret, is victorious. Well Witcher. And for the lads won it.
Shay takes the lead. Shay wins the Elgos.
Well, thanks again for joining us on Breeding to Win. Join us once again next week for more racing action and more information coming up regarding the season's racing. From myself, Julie Alexander, and the rest of the Breeding to Win team, enjoy the rest of your week's racing. Good night.